Like, hey, oh, sorry. Are we live? Are we live, Keith?
I think we're live. I didn't hear any music, so
you didn't hear it at all?
no.
No way. That's wild. That's wild. I heard it 100% on my side, man. We're making it up as we go. I don't even know why the StreamYard Live is showing up in the corner today. What's happening? What is
I
happening
don't know. I don't know. But what's up, everybody? It's your boy Grizzly Gable, Keith Gable here. On my left, your right, wherever, I've got Zach Miller and my co-host, the host with the most, Sleep. How y'all doing today? We're stoked to be bringing this last minute, to be honest. Our guest today, Evan Strong, he ended up having something pop up last minute, and so he had to cancel. But lo and behold, I'm in the same area as my teammate Zach. I said, hey, we're doing this podcast. Evan can't make it. You want to jump on? And he's like, sure, let's go.
Makes it easy, man. Makes it easy. Zach, dude, thanks for joining us today. A lot going on in the world, a lot going on for you guys. What are you guys there for this week? I know that you're at the Center for Excellence. I know that you live there, Zach, and Keith, you're traveling in. What's happening? What's the big news in the world of para snowboard?
Well, yeah, just want to say thanks again for having me, guys. Good to be back on the show. Long time no see. So yeah, I'm glad it worked out. Yeah, it's definitely it's about that time in the summer where a lot of things are coming to a point. And so for us two specifically here, we're just catching up on some testing, getting in the labs, getting in our new kind of benchmark performances. So Keith's been doing a lot of strength and conditioning testing, just trying to put out some raw numbers and see where we're at, at this point after training throughout the summer. So it's just basically a check-in to see how things are going during the summer, if we're meeting our goals as athletes, if we need to make any changes moving forward to make sure that we're still moving, with good progress towards where we want to be before the season kicks off for us again here in November. So we also got, our schedule sort of official. We got a pretty good idea of what countries we're going to be going to, and the roster, in my opinion, the setup for this circuit looks pretty fun. So I'm excited to go back to some of my favorite spots on the tour as well. And then obviously Paris 2024 Olympics are going on right now. So that's what I've been doing all day, every day. I wake up, I make some coffee, and I turn on the Olympics, and I just watch all these different sports. And it's awesome because I, like so many other people, are learning a lot about some of the new sports that are in the Olympics, ones that I did not know existed that are awesome. In fact, right now going on, I have it saved in my calendar because I've been looking forward to this. But they added a new sport for the 2024 Olympics in Paris, and it's called kayak cross. It is very similar to what we do because we do border cross, but it's on a river, 4 at a time with kayaks, full contact. It is their gate is just this small like box that they hold all the racers in, and then they just drop you into the water, and you just go, dude. It's
it does look sick.
Yeah, last one down's a rotten egg.
So you were swimming. Is it a paddling? I mean, is there
you're in a kayak? You're in a kayak.
Yeah.
Gosh. Oh my gosh. Is there like a pool start? Is there like a pull start for it?
It drops you. That's what's so crazy. Like, we get a pull start. We get like a gate in front of us. And as soon as that gate opens, we rip on the handles as hard as we can to try and get that head start. Then, nah, dude, like, it's like when you're at the water park and you're like in those slides where you just you stand in the chamber and they drop you and you just go. Same thing, same concept. They literally just drop the floor out from under them, and then last one down to rotten egg. So I'm really looking forward to watching those finals coming up. Unfortunately, they didn't have enough numbers to add a women's category, so it's just the men's for this time around. But like hopefully by the time LA 2028 comes around, we'll have a lot more athletes in that, because dude, that sport looks so cool.
Wow. Oh,
it does look rad. It looks super cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. I'll have to check it out. It's happening today.
Yeah, they're starting to work through like the prelims and
yeah,
and like working their way into the brackets. In a few days they'll be doing the finals. So I'm sure it'll be some good stuff worth watching. Tune in if you can.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Hey, Keith.
Sleep, what have you been watching? Hold on. What have you been watching?
Oh, man. All kinds of stuff. I'll tell you what, being not an athlete, you know, I assume that I get a different experience from the Olympics that you guys get. I mean, I know you both have been there. Well, no, I don't know. Zach, have you participated in an Olympic, Paralympic event yet?
I was in Beijing in 2022.
Gotcha. You were in Beijing. Okay. Yeah. So you guys have both been there. You guys have a different experience from me. For me, it's about family, right? You know, I love watching the Olympics. I love watching it with the kids, with the wife. You know, we turn it on at dinner time. We watch it all through. And I mean, we've been watching everything. Handball, trying to figure out how to play handball, maybe thinking of starting a team. I don't know, man. We need to have a Dallas handball team. I mean, it looks awesome. It's epic. Obviously soccer, field hockey, watched field hockey yesterday. It was Great Britain. By the way, we got to figure out what's going on in England, because you got the United Kingdom, you got Great Britain, and you got like England, Scotland, North Ireland. I don't get it. I don't know. You know, at what levels you compete as countries, at what levels you compete as Great Britain, as what levels you compete as United Kingdom. I don't think anybody does. I don't know what can the United Kingdom consist of. Does it consist of North Ireland? You know, I don't know. Or does Great Britain consist of North Ireland? I don't get that connection. But anyway, watch the United Kingdom versus India in field hockey, and it was crazy. India went down a man in like right at the beginning with 40 minutes left, and they played a man down for the whole game, ended up winning in a shootout. Those shootouts in field hockey are so much fun to watch. I think the funnest part of it all is just getting to experience it with my kids. Right. Keith, you and I talked really quickly about the table tennis final. We talked about that, the Sweden guy, Truls Morgard. He was like a huge underdog. He went up against, you know, the Chinese juggernaut, I think in the semifinal, and then in the final, Fan Zhongdong, I believe, and he ended up losing in the final. But by the start of that game, my daughter and I were, you know, we're not really too into ping pong. I know how to play it, you know, at a low level and have fun with it. But by the end of the game, her and I were ping pong professionals for sure. You know, we were like, man, like, oh, whoa, you know,
how'd you miss that shot?
Yeah, you had the top spin on it. He should have just punched it. Why didn't he just punch it? I don't get it. But just to kind of be able to experience that with my kids and have that reaction to sports that we don't see every day, that we don't really know the rules to, and you know, the whole atmosphere of it just is something truly special.
It really is. I mean, whether you're an athlete or a spectator athlete, whatever the case may be, like watching it with your friends and family can be, I think, some of the best aspects of the games, Olympics or Paralympics, right? My son, the other night, we watched the BMX freestyle. We watched the final, and it was just a replay, but he didn't know any different, right? He was blown away because my kid's a big biker, right? He loves bikes. And to see dudes, you know, triple tail whip and doing double flares, double backflips, all this on a bike. My kid had no idea that was a thing until the other night. And he was just like, whoa, where's the replay? I need to see the replay. I'm like, he's like, I love the replay, Dad. Where is it? And I'm like, is it because why? I asked him, I was like, why do you love the replay? And he's like, because I can actually see what's going on. And I was like, okay, fair. Like, that's why all of us love the replay, right? But to see his reactions to everything and kind of see what he's like gravitating towards, like he's really gravitated towards swimming, surprisingly. Like he loves watching the swimming. I don't know if it's just because it's easy to understand and it's race, you know, you can see the flags trailing and all that kind of stuff. He really enjoyed watching golf. I was surprised because, you know, they keep golf moving on the Olympics. Like, you know, they're constantly moving from hole to hole, and it's not as slow paced as, say, watching PGA Tour or something like that. So He really loved watching golf, gymnastics. He loves watching people do flips. Like, he's like, I want to do gymnastics. I'm like, well, your mom was a gymnast and she coaches gymnastics, so you're in the perfect household for that, right? But I love the family aspect and just getting to experience it. He's old enough now where he's like really stoked on certain things. So just watching his reaction like pumps me up. You know, I watched the Noah Lyles finish last night for the 100 meter.
Wow.
And talk about learning about new sports. Like, I thought sprinting was pretty basic, right? Like, okay, you know, in the blocks, first one out, get out there, cross the finish line. I didn't realize like that it was the chest, you know, because I thought he lost. When I watched it, I was like, it was a photo finish, and just seeing it from, you know, that perspective of on TV and just as fast as it is, I was like, oh no, he just lost. And then for them to show the replay and show the photo finish, and it was his chest that got him, like the momentum pushed him through at the end, even though he got a late start. I was like, whoa, I was just losing
that was
it,
electric,
man.
yeah.
Losing it. And I'm staying at a friend's house who's like a big, you know, just sports fan altogether. He was a visually impaired guide for alpine ski for a lot of years, and then transitioned over to one of the head coaches of the para-alpine ski team and stuff like that. And so we're watching all the events, and I swear to God, Ray Watkins should be a commentator for any sport, because one, he's hilarious, and two, like, he's spot on. He's got an eye for athletics. He's been doing it his whole life. So it's been fun watching it with him, because you know, he's got something to say about everyone, and half the time he's not even rooting for the US, which then we create a little rivalry between us. You know, he wants the underdog to win at all times.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just such a special time, and for these athletes to have this platform and this amount of love surrounding them and surrounding their sports that they don't get all the time. It's truly special to see. And it is so genuine. It is so genuine. All the tweets, all the comments, all of the media that goes into the Olympics. It's just so special. And I'm happy that you guys are a part of it. And I'm happy for you guys coming up here in 2 years. It's going to be your turn. You're going to be out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We're getting work done now, you know, so that when we get there, it's just another day in the office, right? We got to go do blood work tomorrow, which I always hate doing blood work, because even though I'm covered in tattoos, I don't love needles, like, just not into it. So it's like, it'll be interesting to see what the numbers are. My blood work last year was great. Especially, it's funny because nowadays I am an older athlete. This guy calls me a boomer constantly. You know, I could see the wheels turning in his head while I'm like fumbling around trying to set this whole thing up last minute in this room. You know, luckily he didn't say anything, because I think he understands that he might get punched today. But no, like, you know, as I'm getting older, it's funny, I get my lab works done, right? I get all the testing done just like any other athlete. And sometimes they're like, wow, your numbers look really good for someone your age. I'm just like, no, can you just cut that last
tell me
little
they're
piece
good.
out? Yeah, just tell me they're good. But honestly, though, you know, I've gotten that like once or twice, and it's generally around like bone density and stuff. But all of my other labs, generally speaking, last year, you know, I spoke to our nutritionist who goes through everything, and she calls you up and has a one-on-one conversation about what you should be consuming, not consuming, whatever, vitamins, whatever. And she's like, honestly, like, your blood work looks amazing. Like, everything actually looks really good this year. You got, you know, you are getting older, just remember that. But she's like, everything that I'm seeing puts you in the upper echelon of our top tier athletes at between the ages of 24 and 27.
Wow.
So, and I just turned 40. So I was like, oh, okay, that's awesome for me. But what does that say about some of our younger athletes, Zach?
Don't look at me, man. I'm 25. I'm out of that bracket.
24 to 27.
Oh, man. Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, it's a good time here. The facilities are amazing, you know, going hard, just kind of seeing where I stack up, seeing where the learning curves are as far as some of like pressure plate stuff that I've never done. You know, numbers look really good, but they could be better just based on a little bit of technique practice and stuff like that. So as far as that goes, you know, I'm on my first round of testing. I think Zach and a couple of the other guys are moving into their second round of testing and stuff like that. And, you know, come September, I'll probably be back out here at the end of September, maybe, or something like that, and just see what progress I've made in the last month and change.
Now, Zach, you are there full time. You are around this staff full time. Is the Center for Excellence? Are you there Monday through Friday? 5 days a week. Doing some level of training with this team.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I moved out here. Also, really quick, I just want to say I love blood work. I love blood work for one very specific reason, because I know I'm going to have to explain. So I don't know if you can see it on the stream, but I have like some pretty aggressive veins that pop out everywhere. My genetics gave me some pretty aggressive vasculature. And
Bro, your veins just look big because your arms are small. Get out of here.
Whatever it is,
Whatever it is,
my veins pop. And so every time I go to get my blood taken, the nurses just love me. They do. They love me so much. They're like, "Oh, you're gonna be so easy. You're gonna be in and out. Yes, thank you so much. I don't even have to use a little vein scan or nothing. They eat it up, and I feed off of that attention. So that's what I do. I go in for like the suckers and the compliments from all the cute nurses.
Absolutely.
I do blood work.
Zach is actually gonna pull like 3 phone numbers tomorrow.
Oh my goodness. So I want to speak to that too, because as a male, maybe myself, I can get hurt. I feel that I handle pain very well, that needles should not be an issue. I feel like needles shouldn't be an issue for me. Jujitsu, right? I screwed my neck up so many times, other athletics, crashed, and, obviously nothing to the level that you guys have experienced, but, going to get my blood drawn, I'm a little girl about it. I'm not a little girl. That's very rude for me to say, but I'm a baby about it for sure. I'm a baby, probably not good optics for this time, but I'm a baby about it. And the most recent time I went, I was like, why? It's just a needle, right? Like you said, you've gotten tattoos, whatever. I've had staph, terribly painful. I've had burns. I've nearly severed a finger, tendon, nerve, artery in my hand. However, needles are something different. It's just the way my body, or my brain and my body reacts to needles is different. So the last time I went to get my blood drawn, I said, "Hey, you're going to look," like I close my eyes or I look away whenever I get my blood drawn. I said, "No, this time you're going to stare at it. You're going to watch yourself get your blood drawn. You're going to stare at the needle going in." And, I went there fully anticipating and planning to do that. And I almost passed out. I had to look away. Like I don't know. It wasn't because of the pain. I don't get it. It was just my body's response to watching it happen. I don't know if it's, something in our DNA or something, unnatural. Like if we see our own blood, that's just kind of the way your body reacts. So it wasn't a pain thing. It wasn't a scared thing. It was just my reaction to watching it happen. I don't get it.
Dude, I've got a buddy who's like super gnarly snowboarder, like one of the people that I attribute to like my charging style of like just free riding too, like just chasing him around when I was younger and stuff. I mean, he's a beast, and he's the same way. Anytime he like sees blood or anything like that, like he goes white in the face and like damn near passes out, It's kind of funny, actually. He was present for my son's birth. He was never supposed to be. I told Zach this story the other day.
It's a good story. Yeah.
So my buddy was in town. My son came exactly 3 weeks early, and he was supposed to, like, we did a home birth, right? If he was 3 weeks in one day, by the state of Colorado's laws, like you have to do it at the hospital. It's just one of those laws. But my son came exactly 3 weeks early, and my buddy was in town, was never supposed to be present for any of it. And my wife goes into labor. Okay. I'm going to tell this story. I'll try to be quick, but
no, you're good.
My wife goes into labor. Okay. And so, I text the midwife and everything. And I'm like, "Hey, Heather's going into labor. This is, these are the contractions, all this kind of stuff, She says, "Okay, go get your inflatable pool ready and get your sheets and towels and all that, and get her on all fours and just, get everything ready. I'll be there, half hour, 45 minutes. So I do. Heather's in the corner, just like, oh, she's going into labor, right? And my buddy wakes up, and he's hilarious. So first of all, he's Chinese Mexican. And whenever he starts to get excited, like his voice starts to elevate, right? So I'm in this like little, I guess you could call it a dining room, but it was really like a foyer. My son was born in a 600 square foot shack on a commune. Okay. Just to let y'all know. And Brandon wakes up, and I'm standing kind of in this little mid-room filling up this inflatable tub with the hose, and he wakes up and he's looking at me and looking at her, and he's like, dude, she having a baby? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, what are you doing, dude? She's having a baby. And I'm like, yeah, it's cool, man. Just chill out, And I'm sitting here filling this tub. He's like, bro, we gotta do something. She's having a baby. It starts like freaking out, dude. I'm like, it's fine. He's like, yeah, you're sitting here whistling, just filling up this tub. She's having a baby. He's freaking out, dude. So finally the midwife comes in and he's yelling at me and I'm just filling my pool, midwife pushes me past. She checks Heather and she's like, screw that pool. You're having a baby now. Just, it's coming, right? So when it's like, we're going through the whole thing, we got some time, right? She's doing the pushing or whatever. And she's like, okay, like go get your knife ready for the umbilical cord when that time comes. And originally jokingly in one of the, appointments prior to this, I got a knife in Finland from the North Pole. It's like a reindeer antler, hilt and all this other, it's really cool knife. It's Finnish Norseman knife. And I was like, I'm going to cut his umbilical cord with that. She's like, whatever. I've seen weirder stuff happen. So she goes, go get your knife ready. And I'm like, no. I think I'll just use the scissors. And she's just, go get your knife ready. So Brandon, being like a fisherman and all this, I'm like, dude, I can't do this right now. I need you to sharpen this blade and get it all disinfected and just, ready to go. And so he's standing in the corner, sharpening this knife, just watching. And at some point I look up and I'm like, are you good? And he's like, he looks like he's just about to pass out. And he's like, dude, this is so freaking weird. She's right there having a baby and I'm sitting here sharpening a knife, just like kind of freaking out. So surprisingly, he didn't pass out during any of this. I'm blown away he didn't. Super proud of you, Brandon. Like, super proud of you. But it's time to cut the umbilical cord. And I was still on the fence. She said, go get your knife and just cut the umbilical cord. You pinch it and then just cut it. So I pinched the umbilical cord. And I'm like I ended up, she said, whoa. Why don't we cut away from the baby? Because I was just like ready to get in there and get after it.
Yeah, exactly.
We cut the umbilical cord and that was the one moment where I was like positive Brandon was going to pass out, because that was that moment of like seeing flesh getting cut or whatever. He stood strong though. I'm so proud of that man, because I've seen him like full on just go out from like someone like slicing their finger a little bit, So I get it. I got a friend, sorry, long-winded little story there, but funny experience with someone who does not handle blood well.
Yeah. I mean, I think you just gotta cut yourself a little bit of slack. That's a primal evolutionary response that, a needle going into your skin is not a good thing. And so it's perfectly natural to get super uncomfortable, to start to feel like lightheaded. That happens, dude. My mom, she's worked in a hospital for basically her whole life. And the amount of people that she's seen that just like, dude, the second a needle even comes out like in the room and they just see it come in on the tray, they just gone, like passed out. Yep. And makes it easier to tap them. But yeah, it's just a thing that just your brain's always going to do. I think the more you get it done, the easier it gets. Cause then you see like all those, grizzled guys who work in like, first response and stuff like that don't even flinch at the sight of just like gallons of blood. I think that's something that comes with time. That comes with time and with going into those situations
Exposure.
with intention. Yeah. Rather than like, I'm going into an appointment because I have to get this done. Oh, here we go. Like, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Yeah.
Are you muted?
Oh, hey guys, what's going
Nice.
on? Are you guys doing a podcast today? Are we doing a podcast? Oh, okay.
I'm just smiling.
Zach literally leaned over my ear and he goes, I can't hear him.
Oh, love it. No, I agree, man. It's something. It's just hard. It's an ego thing for sure. It's an ego thing, man. Am I really going to pass out from this needle right now? Is that really what's going to happen? But it is what it is. I'm glad you guys are there. You guys are hanging out together. You're getting tested. You're preparing for this upcoming season, which is going to be the year before your Olympic season. You said that the schedule is kind of coming out. Do you guys have any camps that coming out of summer? I know last year you guys spent some time in Chile. Are you guys heading back to Chile? Are you guys doing any Southern Hemisphere trips before the start of the season?
Yeah, we've got one, well, not Southern Hemisphere, but we do have one on snow camp, I believe in October, November, over on the East Coast. It'll kind of pair up with the able-bodied team. What's
I was telling one of the parents of a ski team athlete here about that. And when she was like, "Oh, where's it going to be?" I was like, "Waterville Valley." And she just laughs me off. So turns out Waterville Valley is not known for having epic powder days in early November. But yeah, hopefully, weather willing, we'll be there. And if that happens, that's actually going to be one of the best opportunities we've had for preseason training in a really long time in the history of this team, because we'll be on an Olympic level course and we'll be chasing Olympic level athletes down this thing. And so because border cross is kind of a more niche sport and a lot less accessible, because the courses take up a lot of space that has to be roped off, and it costs a lot of money to build those courses. It's pretty few and far between that you get track time. And so that is always really important for us. That's why we chased it all the way down to South America last season.
right.
But this would be an awesome opportunity, because tons of other teams will come out there to maximize their training opportunities before the season starts as well. So then we get to get in the gates with those guys.
Right.
And that basically just forces us to hit the ground running. And then when we show up to our next actual World Cup with other Paralympic athletes, we're already with a high idle, ready to rock and roll.
It's the first World Cup, I believe, follows shortly after that camp. So it should put us in a really good spot this year.
Yeah.
Where's the first World Cup at? Is that starting in Europe again?
It basically always kicks off in Landgraf. It's this indoor facility on the only hill that entire country has. We call it the Ice Box. It's a place where you kind of gotta go into it expecting the next few days to be a little rough. The food is
questionable at best.
Yeah, it's a cafeteria that just, we get this meal plan, and that's your breakfast is eggs that for sure did not come from a chicken. And whatever else they can scrape up. So yeah, and then you don't see the sun for so many days, because not only is it always overcast outside, but you're in a hotel attached to an indoor facility the whole time. So it's an interesting one to start off of.
And that's only banked, right? That's only banked slalom. That's
Correct.
not border
just
cross.
slalom.
Gotcha.
Sorry, just banked slalom. No, you're good. Just to add on to what Zach was saying, I always think of it as like a ski and snowboard themed amusement park that really gives off a vibe of like Christmas meets ski and snowboard meets kind of a casino, because you generally don't leave the place. And it's just like, you don't see daylight a whole lot in the Netherlands that time of year anyway. It's just raining, but you just don't even end up going outside half the time because A, it's raining, or B, you've got stuff to do. So you're just in this giant building for days on end. Like you almost, after a couple of days of being there, you're itching to get outside and just go do anything not there. And
cabin fever goes crazy.
Yeah, you're like, let's go for a walk. That sounds amazing.
That sounds so fun.
I might actually run today. Go ahead.
Where's it at? Is it near Rotterdam? Is it near Amsterdam? I mean, the Netherlands
It's
isn't
close to Germany. It's like close to the German border, actually. I think it's south or something like that.
So we fly into Amsterdam and then we drive for like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I believe last year there was some of the Sassy community members, the Shredding Sassy community members from the Netherlands that drove out for the event and checked it out. I don't know if they got to meet up with any of you guys, but there was definitely some of the community members that went out there. So that's
right.
Cool,
that's right. Yeah, I didn't actually end up meeting up with any of them. I mean, I was just blown away that Ollie showed up right after his surgery.
Mm-hmm.
He drove like 12 hours just to come hang out and show some love, and he was bummed because I think what was it? Not last season, but the season before last, he won the Globe in bank slalom, and he wanted to give it another go and try to defend that a little bit. And so he was a little bummed about not being there racing. He was being that British bulldog that you don't see too often from him. But no, I mean, Zach always does really well on that course. I've had some success there as well. It just really depends on the day. And honestly, like what board you're riding, because you can take just about anything down that course.
You really can.
And there's a lot of strategy involved, but Zach's done really well there. So, obviously I want to go and do my absolute best, but we'll be competing against each other, and I want to see him do really well as well.
Yeah, we shared a podium there a couple times.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
We flip-flop spots a couple times.
And that course is really tight. I think I remember seeing some footage from last year of almost, pretty epic crashes. I mean, did that happen? Or there's always epic crashes there, or just in general?
Yeah.
Like it's like a fence alleyway. So like you screw up a little bit, there's a good chance you're gonna take a massive digger, like fly out of the course.
You're really dealing with some pretty fine margins within that course. And there's definitely, I posted a reel there because I had a run where twice I ended up accidentally kind of riding outside and above the line I was supposed to be in, and took like an impossible high line of literally carving on the outside top of the berm, slapping like the poles that were holding the nets there. And I did it twice, like did it once, like survived it, heard everyone up at the top like screaming, and then resettled, tried to get back into the rhythm, and then did it again. And then I was like, all right, you're done.
I did that on the lower section last year. And I don't know, I just found that just barely. I was on the outside of the berm, on top of it, behind it, whatever. And the fence, I mean, slapped the fence with my board. And I thought for sure it was just going to grab me and full on shit with me into the next dimension. And somehow I rode out from it. I was like, oh my God, I don't know how that just happened.
When you hear that clacking sound, because your tail is basically slapping these plastic pipes that are holding the net in, and you just hear like clack, 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 clack. It's one of those things where like you're trying to keep yourself moving, but mentally in your head, you've already like prepared for the whiplash, because you're just waiting for your nose to catch underneath one of those poles, and it grabs you and sends you for a ride. And so every once in a while, you get this rare moment where you ride out of it and you're like,
what just happened?
Yeah.
The hand of God was like, not today. But...
Yeah, not today. I think one of the reasons why we had some gnarly crashes last year is they've always shaped it to be, like you said, a pretty tight, close quarters course. But this last year, what they did was they took kind of the bottom third of the course and they really opened up the turns, because they wanted to try and at least like increase the speed a little bit. I'm not sure why, because you still have to shut it down pretty quick. But yeah, they wanted to change the rhythm. And what ended up happening is they built the final few turns so wide that a lot of athletes ended up just taking their border cross boards in. And so for us, like something that's really important when we show up to a competition, right, is day one is just trying to get eyes on the course as soon as possible. Oftentimes we don't even have access. And so we end up having to send one of our staff members or an assistant coach up there to just try and see if they can spy on the course for us a little bit and see if they can send some video to the group. And so that gives us a good idea of kind of what we're going to be up against for the week, and gives us an idea. Maybe we can try and gauge the speed of what some of these features look like, how much room we're going to have, and kind of the radius of the turns. And so then that gives us a really good idea of what boards we want to start waxing for the week. And so we carry, I mean, everyone's kind of different with their preferences, but we're usually bringing, almost a dozen boards to each of these competitions that have different side cut radiuses, different stiffnesses, different base patterns that hold, structures that hold different kinds of wax. And so, I mean, because our sport's defined by tenths and hundredths of seconds. And so you always want to set yourself up for the most success. And oftentimes a lot of that is really going to come down to your equipment preparation and making sure you're on a board that's best fit for the course. And so this was a weird competition because a lot of the initial turns right out the gate were super tight, came at you really fast, and you wanted a board that was going to be really nimble. But if you could survive the first half of the course in a board that was better fit for kind of some higher speed, longer radius turns, then you could really pick up some momentum towards the end of the course and potentially make up any kind of lost time that you had at the beginning. And so then you saw athletes kind of taking that gamble, running some wider radius, higher speed boards, and then getting stuck in some of those close quarter turns. And it led to a pretty entertaining week.
So how much training time do you have before the first run, and who's making the decision on the board selection? Are you making obviously you're probably making the final decision, but are you consulting, coaching, others from the USA staff or your team on your board selection? If you carry 12, I figured you were going to say 4 there. When you were prepping to tell me how many boards you brought, I figured 4, 6 would be a lot, but a dozen boards, that's absolutely insane.
Yeah, let's just say baggage fees are not friendly during the season.
Rocking 2 board
bags, a roller bag, 2 carry-ons, and those board bags are packed with snowboards, so they're pretty heavy at the end of the day. For me, okay, so first of all, first part of the question, right? we usually get the day before a race, we'll get a training block, right? And that can be anywhere from like an hour to 3 hours, depending on how big the field is, how big the course is, what the turnaround time is to get back to the course. Generally speaking, you only get like 3 to 5 laps on any course ever, no matter how big the training lap is or block is. And then the day of, generally we'll get 1 training lap and then we go right into racing. So as far as that goes, that's kind of the time frame to prepare and just try to figure it all out in, you know, a very limited amount of time. Sometimes I'll take 2 or 3 boards up because I'm not really sure, and just take a lap on each one and be like, well, that one felt better than the last one, you know, and then it's kind of a flip a coin sometimes almost, you know, like I could ride all of these in most conditions. So, but usually I think it comes down to the athlete. Zach can talk on how he creates his process for choosing a board.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's so many factors that you're trying to tune in such a short amount of time. And oftentimes that's like the most exhausting part of the sport, is that you really can't, like, you think, oh, I just got done with the run. Now I can like turn off for a little bit. I can just kind of calm down, get the heart rate back under control and take it easy while I'm on the chairlift. And it's like, no, dude, now you got like a lot of homework to do. Now you got to like try and take as many mental notes about, you know, how did those turns feel? How's the board running? How's the wax feeling? Because as soon as you get up to the top, your coaches are going to be asking about how the board feels. The techs are going to be asking about how the wax is running. And as much feedback as you can give back to them will help support you later in the day or in the comp. So you're just having to keep track of a lot. And then you got to turn on and just drop into another run and squeeze as much performance as you can out of that and see if anything changed. You then have to, be comparing this stuff in your head about, okay, well, now I got to compare what I just did to an hour and a half ago when I did my first run and see if I can even compare some of that stuff and what felt different, better, or worse. And then after that, it's usually heading back down to the bottom and we'll meet with our coaches and do some video review, because then they're on course trying to post up, get as much coverage of the course as they can and video us going about our run so that they can talk to us about line choice. They can talk to us about strategy, you know, if we're running heats and border cross. And so, you really are, for these like 2 days, you have no time to relax. I go to bed on like a World Cup day, just like running all of this stuff over in my head. Mm-hmm. And honestly, sometimes it's like you get to this point where you're like, I need to sleep, but right. There's still so much to think about that like I just have to cut it, go to sleep, get my rest in, and take the next day like just by the horns. And so sometimes you get squeezed and you just have to flip a coin and be like, you know what? I feel confident I can ride this board in just about anything. So I'm going to go with that. I spoke with, our wax techs and our servicemen, and they're saying that, this wax is going to run fast and it's been testing well with the other athletes too. So you also kind of have to trust your team a little bit. We are competing against each other at the end of the day, but we're all Team USA. Right. We are trying to cross the finish line first. Whoever that's going to be needs to be us, and it needs to be a US flag on top. And so, we're also there to help support each other and be like, what wax are you running? Well, I just had the text try this, and honestly, it felt pretty quick. Do you want to run a lap with me? And like, we'll jump in the gates with each other too. Sometimes that's the most valuable thing you can do with the limited time you have, is just grab another athlete, whether it's a teammate or otherwise, and just get on course to see what they're doing, compare your lines that way, see where speeds are different for each rider throughout the course. Cause obviously your riding style is going to generate more speed in your own unique areas. And so that's just, I do kind of a similar thing. I bring up at least one spare board, and I generally try to start from kind of the outside of the spectrums and work my way in until I find a board that I feel like gels well with the course. And then after that, it's about tuning myself up.
Yeah. And something to take into consideration when we're having those conversations is like, okay, you just ran that wax. What's your base grind? Like, is that a wet grind? Is that a mid grind? Is that a cold grind? How are the grinds running on the snow? And because that'll work with the wax as well. So there's a lot that we end up having to kind of figure out. And it does help when we're able to like jump on a chairlift after running with each other and kind of go over and pass notes along. Like, hey, I saw you were in this position here, and I gained 2 board lengths out of nowhere, and I was right here. Like, make a mental note for tomorrow, because we all want to see each other do well. Yes, we're competing against each other, and we want to beat each other, but I'd much rather have a USA sweep any day of the week than share the podium with anyone else. Well, I like sharing the podium with Ollie once in a while. He's a good guy.
And he's pretty fun.
With I don't know what you call it, brackets, will they not pair US riders up against one another in the same heat until So you'll get the first heat of the day, and you guys will be paired together. It won't be.
Sometimes there's 3 of us.
Yeah, sometimes it's
wow.
literally
And-
within 2 rounds. There's no Americans left.
Yeah, sometimes there's 3 of us,
We
and
knocked
only
each other
top 2
out.
advance. You know, it's single elimination. So it's like you're like there's one other country, and it's like, okay, like one of us from the team is going away, and let's just hope it's not 2 of us. You know, it's wild.
I had to make a choice about that last season during a race. I was in a heat with Keith because of the way qualification ended up being. We met in the semifinal, and it was about, you know, just advancing as many U.S. athletes as we could. And I had a pretty good start and was kind of out in front. I got passed by another athlete, and then I could tell that Keith was like coming up behind me. And because we were getting to kind of the bottom section of the course, he's a much bigger guy and he carries a lot more freight through that section. And just all he did, he wasn't asking for anything. He just said, I'm on your inside. And like sometimes just you hear that and you have to make a split second decision of like, okay, do I try and, you know, tighten up my line a little bit to help make sure I keep my place? Or is this one of those things where we have one of the top athletes on our circuit coming up behind us, and I have to make a decision on what's going to put the U.S. flag higher up into the order? And so I basically just said, yeah, I hear you. And I just held my line, and Keith was able to stick this awesome, like inside hero line, finishes the pass on me. And then I was able to drop in right behind him and draft. And then the rest of the race was just about getting him to the finish line as soon as I could and kind of becoming a blocker out behind. And so sometimes you just kind of find yourself in these situations where you just have to go in that one moment of what's going to be best for my interests. And my interests are my team succeeding. Like I want a U.S. athlete to win. If it's not going to be me, then I'm getting my elbows out and trying to block for one of my buds.
Yeah, no, I love that. That makes sense. And is that only the World Cup stage? I imagine the Olympic stage probably has a little bit more fine tuning in how they, or the Paralympic stage and how they standardize the heats, because it just doesn't make sense to me. I guess
nothing changes.
Nothing changes. Heats are completely based on your qualifying time. No matter what, you could have a banger qualifier and one of your teammates crashes in the qualifier and qualifies dead last, and you meet in the very first heat because of it. You know, there's any number of reasons. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've raced my teammates in heats over the years. It's just part of it is we have so many athletes.
Sometimes you have days where we all just get paired off together, and it's like, dude, what is happening? Like, do we have magnets in our pockets or something? Why is this?
Too funny. All right. Hey, so I want to also move back to bank slalom. Is there a certain number of turns that each course has to have? Is there a standard number of turns? And are you guys like Cool Runnings in the bathtub at night before the event, you know, studying the turns, you know, kind of like in like this position right here and like left turn, right turn?
Maybe not necessarily standing, but we do take, you know, POV footage, and then we also get the footage from the coaches, and you know, you're analyzing every aspect of the course from start to finish. And so you will do a lot of analyzing and visualizing, like, okay, on my POV, I was here, and really like, it looks like the race line is, you know, 2 to 4 inches down or 2 to 4 inches up. And so you're visualizing taking that line, studying each turn changes. Well, first of all, they are different shapes, but then they change shape throughout the course of that very first training day all the way to the very last competition. So, you know, they get wider, and sometimes there's different lines that get created within because everyone's riding the same line. And so you'll actually get like what's called like a double bank. And so, you know, just trying to adjust to all of the study, visualize your lines, and hopefully, you know, on race day, you can lace it how you want to. And, then you're fast.
Yeah. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but to answer that first part of your question, as far as like course standardization goes, I don't actually think there's a set number of turns the course has to have. I think one thing they do govern is that it has to meet a minimum requirement of elevation.
Yeah.
So from where it starts to where it ends, that has to be at least this many meters. And then there's also got to be a track distance maybe.
Yeah, so track distance, elevation, number of features. There's a bunch. There's not necessarily bank slalom, I think there's supposed to be a minimum of 13 turns or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is a short course.
That would be really short.
Like a good bank slalom should have about 20 turns.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a good solid average. Sometimes they have a little bit more, a little bit less, but yeah.
Yeah. And so then, to then answer the second part of your question, like maybe not full cool running style, but like, a lot of us like will take a 360 cam, you know, and throw it on our helmet and just do a run or two with that on. So that way we can at least like get some POV of what the inside of these turns look like. Then you are still working with the coaches in there. And then also, you know, we steal video from other athletes too. You know, whenever we have a high profile athlete that's, you know, one of our top competitors, one of our rivals that's on course, you know, we'll radio to our coaches and have them just film them too, to grab a run to see what lines they're running, because everyone's trying different tactics. Everyone's trying to work from the outside in, and they're all taking different strategies to try and figure out what the fastest line is. And so sometimes you're also, you know, watching your competitors for the next day. You're watching athletes from other countries and their runs and trying to see what seems to be working for them. And then you kind of just got to play Legos a little bit and start kind of building this ideal run that you think is going to stack up the fastest. And then you just try and cement that in your head overnight before you wake up the next day.
Then you try to do it at the Olympics or Paralympics, right? And you can't even sleep because you're competing at the biggest stage.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of training in mentally the night before.
Man, that's it's really cool to hear, and all the preparation that goes into it. I mean, without a doubt, I can't imagine the experience, man. I can't imagine the experience. Hey, but did you want to take it back to the Olympics? Because there was a couple of events kind of coming up right now. I know the surf event is, I don't know if it's happening today. I think they were delayed a little bit, but surf's been off the hook. Tahiti, these guys are shredding out there.
Those waves look crazy,
dude. The first day I was actually in the Discord messaging some of the sassy folks, and I was like, man, the waves, you know, they're like mild to moderate at best, you know. And then like the very next day they just were pumping, and I was like, let's go. I love surf. I think I'm stoked that like, yes,
that photo, dude,
the ultimate
I've seen
picture
that everywhere.
Like that guy should get $1 million just for that.
He really
in my opinion,
dude.
like,
that guy's gonna
to
be in every magazine. I mean, anytime the Summer Olympics come around,
he will be.
That's gonna be up there.
That will be the face of Olympic snowboarding from here on out, or not snowboarding, surfing. Yeah. Here on out, like
screw it. Let's make it the face of Olympic snowboarding too.
All
so
Olympics.
Cool.
That should just be the face of Olympics right there. I mean, so sick. And like, dude, surfing is crazy. I didn't realize how much, you know, strategies going into that. Like if you have position and all of that, like priority, there's guys that'll sit for, you know, 5-10 minutes just to kind of find that perfect wave, and then it takes away time
a little bit too. Making pinching your opponent, you know, if they're gonna have to make a better run too. It's so crazy.
I love that pick. Like
it's so cool.
When I first thought I was
is a paid actor, man.
Yeah.
The way it's just perfectly.
Whoever that surf company is, you need to pay this man.
Yeah,
that's
seriously.
all I'm saying. Olympics, you need to pay this man. Paris, you need to pay this man. Tahiti, pay him.
So for the folks just listening, we're looking at the Gabriel Medina. We're looking at the Gabriel Medina photo of him. You know, he looks like he's just standing on the air, got his finger up, holding number one. Man, it's an absolutely wild picture. Everybody knows about it, and this day was absolutely insane. As you said, it built up, and you know, this was the day of those big waves. So absolutely spectacular, and I can't wait to learn more. Again, like I think like you guys were saying, I understand surf competition at a rudimentary level, but excited to see it continue on. And unfortunately, we were talking Team USA on the men's side. All the Team USA riders are out, but on the female side, we still got the 2023 world champion Caroline Marks still holding it out for Team USA. So hopefully we can kind of see a podium there out of Caroline. It'd be pretty dope.
Let's go, Caroline. I tell you right now, if my son's watching, he'll be yelling USA for you for sure. So will I.
My kid too. My kid too, man. My kid too. Other events we talked a little bit about in our, we had a Twitter space the other day, an X space, talked a little bit about the street skate final. Obviously Nyjah doing his thing with the bronze. Who do we have getting silver? Eaton coming in silver, and Yuto with the gold from Japan. Dude, Japan's skate scene is is absolutely insane. Those guys are just crushing it.
It's
Snowboard
crazy.
as well, freestyle snowboard as well. It's absolutely wild.
Yeah. I mean, they're amazing athletes and they have some of the best resources in the world, and they've been doing it since they were 3. I mean, it's the perfect storm, you know. They are not, I don't want to take anything away from them, but they get a lot of resources to just dial it in, you know. Same on our circuit. The Japanese team is very good, and we've seen them progress from like, well, good luck, guys, to like literally right up there in the top 10 always, and sometimes on the podium, you know. And they're constantly on snow. They're constantly training. They're
on snow right now.
Yeah, they're on snow right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's just a testament to their system. It really does work, and the dedication of the athletes and their staff and their whole committee, just kind of creating the resources for them to really be the best possible athlete they can on that given day, you know. They're amazing, and they're awesome. They do well. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, their culture is sick too.
Yeah.
But that's what I love about the Olympics, man. That's why I always watch it. Like, very similar to JP. Those were all my early memories that like got me into sports, was watching the Olympics when they came on.
Oh yeah.
Like that was what I so looked forward to the Olympics coming. And especially the Winter Olympics, because I thought snowboarding was so cool. And then when I later got the chance to snowboard myself, I was like, man, that's so crazy. Now, like, I watch these Olympic snowboarders and like, oh man, I want to do something like that.
Right.
And I had no idea the Paralympics even existed.
Yeah.
Then. It wasn't until later, basically when I met Keith and Mike Shea and Evan Strong, that was when there was a World Cup established. It wasn't in the Paralympic Games yet, but there was this event called the Paralympic Games. It ran alongside the Olympics, and it was the same idea. It was the highest level of competition for elite athletes around the world to come represent their nation and show the world what was up. And they were going to add snowboarding, and it was something that I could do with my disability and I could be in the pipeline for. And so, like, yeah, circling all the way back to like my earliest memories, the Olympics played a huge role in me falling in love with sports. And then it played a huge role in me discovering the Paralympics. And now, like, I've been so fortunate to have this lifestyle where now I get to train and be a professional athlete. I get to travel the world every winter. I get to go on the World Cup circuit. I get to hang out with these guys and get to know my teammates and go through the highest highs and the lowest lows and really like get the full experience of what it means to be a competitor. And I love it and I feed off of it. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes watching the Olympics, especially nowadays, just so incredible to me. Is like, I know I have a pretty good idea of what these athletes have done to get to that level.
Right. And gone through. And
an idea of the dedication and the work and the training and the sacrifices that they've made, you know, and with them also being like, for me, you know, Team USA, I get so patriotic during the Olympics. Right. It's insane. I basically just have the like national anthem on blast at my house all the time. But yeah, like knowing that also like, these are my teammates. These are the same guys on Team USA that I'm a part of, and that they also don't have any kind of government funding. You know, they're making sacrifices as well. They're working jobs just like I am. They're working at golf courses and trying to do whatever they can, you know, to pinch pennies and get the support they need to go and compete. And then you get to see, you know, the quintessential part of the Olympics, the medal ceremony. Right. You get to see when the person comes across the finish line or scores the final point. And you just kind of get to see like that moment where everything kind of comes crashing in around them, and you see the payoff. Right. And like, I haven't gotten to have that experience yet. I hope that one day I can at the Paralympics, but just seeing that and kind of being able to somewhat relate to it, to just understand that like that athlete has been through so much and it all had to come together for them on this one day. That's the other thing that I kind of don't like about the Olympics. Like, I watch motorsports and they have championships that last over the course of a whole season. And depending on your performance across all of those races, that's what wins you a championship at the end. That's what makes them, you know, the top of the best. With the Olympics, it's one day, man. Yeah. Every 4 years, you have one day, one run, one match to truly put all the effort that you've already put into your life, your career on the line, and hope that it works out. I mean, it's insane. You do everything you can to set yourself up for success, but sometimes the cards just don't fall in your favor. It could be anything. You could get an injury right before the games. I mean, there's so many factors. And so then when it all comes together, that's what makes it just like so emotional for me. And I can't help it, like get a little teary-eyed sometimes when I see an athlete, you know, have that moment, is because that's what it's all about. It's so incredible.
I mean, I get that as well. And I'm not an athlete. I haven't experienced that, but I get that as well. And I think it's the camaraderie. It's, I mean, you know, just America coming together. And a lot of the things you said there, you know, you understand the feeling that these guys are having. You've experienced the training that they've experienced. I wanted to show you something. I just pinned it up. I didn't pin it up. I shared it right now. The Simone Biles post from yesterday. You guys really got to stop asking athletes what's next after they win the medal at the Olympics. And I wanted to get your thought on that, Zach, because what's up?
Well, who cares what's next, dude? Can we just take a second to like appreciate what led to this? Like, bro, yeah, I really don't like that question.
Dude, so like in Pyeongchang, I cross the finish line, win a silver medal, go through the media corral, and I'm getting asked that very question. And I'm like, okay, two things. First of all, what's next? I have a competition in a couple of days. So that's what's next. Yeah. And then after that, I have no idea, because for the last 4 years, my life has been all about these 2 days that are coming up. That was literally my answer. And I was just like, I was a little annoyed because I was like, I don't know, like, let's be stoked on this right here. Like, what's next? Like, well, I guess I'm going to the medal ceremony, but yeah. I don't know. You tell me, because I really have no idea.
Dude, and they've continued to do you dirty. I remember in 2019 at World Championships in Canada when you won the title there in border cross. He comes across the finish line.
Finland.
Oh yeah, it was Finland, right? Yeah. It was Finland. He comes across the finish line, a world champion. I think that was the first world champ title you got too, right?
Yeah.
And so obviously it was a big moment for Keith. You know, he's celebrating. He gets up there on the podium. He gets his gold medal. He gets his like stuffed reindeer. And he's just like soaking it up. And I'm there just like so happy for him, because I'm like, dude, like I was a part of the heat. Yeah. I was in the heat. Yeah. And so I that was where I won my first world championship medal. I got a bronze in that one. And so, yeah, I got to be up there with him. I got to experience this. And obviously, like, Keith is here on top of the world, and I get to be there up next to him. And so it's awesome. And then from right then, we head over to kind of the media area. And, you know, one person grabs me, and I just overhear Keith starting one of his first interviews. And they're like, so Keith, you're a world champion. And I forget how old you were at the time, like, you know, somewhere in like, you know,
mid to late 30s.
Mid-30s. And
I don't know.
And they go, so
36.
Are you thinking about retiring? And I had to like take a second to be like, wait a second, what did you just ask this man? Like, he just won a world championship title in border cross. And your first question was, well, you're probably done then, right? It's like, dude,
like, no.
Why would he stop? First off, he just won. And second, like, congratulations is how I would start that interview off. Like, tell us how you feel. What does this mean to you? Nothing. Just like, so Keith, you know, you're thinking about retiring? Like, some of these questions that they're asking athletes is like, I always, whenever I see like the clips of like an NBA or like an NHL player that has to go up for a press conference that, you know, you can already tell on their face they don't want to be at, and someone asks them a dumb question, and then they give like a pretty straight up, like, that's a pretty stupid question, dude. You're not supposed to say that. We get media training that's like, you kind of always have to put forward like this pretty professional, corporate approved. Sometimes you even have to follow lines just to like stick to the script, right? Be a good professional, say your lines, get off the stage. And dude, I love it when an athlete kind of like breaks free for a second and it's just like, hey man, that's a stupid question. Yeah. I feel like more reporters need to hear that. Yeah. They just need to have an athlete be like, no, I will not give you an answer. Next question, ask me anything else.
So those guys, they play 80, you know, they play 80 games a year, right? Hockey, basketball, roughly 80 games a year. So to just day in and day out have kind of questions like that, it's got to be insane. It's got to wear on you, you know, mentally. It's got to drain you, especially when you have those bad days, right? But honestly, these guys are just looking for clickbait, right? They're just looking for what's going to get the most views, what's going to get the most clicks, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. That's where we're at.
I mean, part of the sport. Yeah, a little piece of advice is no athlete knows what they're going to do next. To be honest, like the one
just to answer for everyone,
like my first thought was like, I'm starving. This competition went way too long and I want dinner. And yeah, I mean, it's literally for like Olympic and Paralympic, whether you're a pro basketball player or whatever, but like for those of us that aren't, let's say like pro basketball players, right, where they have like this crazy season and that's their big coup de grace. Once a year, they might make an Olympic team. Like for any athlete that's like a World Cup athlete, like that's the goal. You're working at every World Cup to work towards the goal of Olympics or Paralympics. It's not, it's not any number of other, like, yes, you want a world championship. Yes, you want a globe. You want all these other things, but those are just kind of like stepping stones to the big day, right? And so for 4 years, I mean, we break it up in quads constantly. That is what our goal is. That is what the dream is. And that is what everything that you're doing right now is working towards. So don't ask, because most of us don't have an answer other than I don't know, check this out, or whatever. Like, unless you're finally done and you've had some time to kind of process it, it's definitely,
unless you already knew what you were going to do before you showed up for that race day.
You generally don't process the fact of what just happened for a few days, it's especially your first one. So it's a silly question for sure. And I agree with Simone. If we can get this out to her, praise you, girl, for saying it. Like, it's something everybody
said
needs
what we
hear.
all think.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, I wanted to pull that up and get your guys' insight. So thank you for that. Hey, another event that I really enjoyed watching with my kid was the Olympic cycling road race. Did anybody catch that? Did you guys catch that? Kristen Faulkner pulling away in the last 5 kilometers was absolutely wild. She almost got a half a second lead. I mean, this is the greatest time of the year, right? The greatest time every 4 years. It's so much fun. It's so much fun to experience this with you guys, to talk about it. I mean, I want to talk it. I want to go on and post about it because I'm so excited every day to watch it. So now I'm stoked to watch kayak cross or whatever it's called. That's going to be that's on the agenda for today. Man, just a huge thanks, Zach, for coming on and hanging with us today. I know it was unexpected, but coming in and helping out and keeping it going. The first 2-time Thrash Talk guest. First 2.
Oh, let's go. Make it history.
You might need a trophy. You might need a belt. Maybe get you a belt. I don't know.
Okay. Take a belt.
Give him a belt buckle.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Old belt buckle. Right? The 2-timer.
Anyways.
Oh my God. Well, Sleep, thank you so much for being flexible today. Zach, thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Super last minute, obviously. This was such an audible. And Sleep and I, just for anyone listening, I mean, we weren't sure if we were going to do it today with all of the last minute changes and stuff. But, I was able to catch Zach real quick and be like, any chance you want to come on right now? And he's like, okay.
Mid burrito.
Yeah, mid burrito. I was like, he's like, okay. So I'm stoked that we got to do it. Super fun. And, awesome to just sit and chat for a few minutes about something that we all love, which is sports.
Love it. Love it. Well, hey, I have it running at the bottom, but Zach, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you, where they can follow along with your career and everything going on in Zach World? Zach World?
Absolutely. Come join the journey. The Mountain Miller on Instagram. And that's where I post most of my stuff. Trying to add some more content here, especially as we're leading up to this season. Got a few big things in the pipeline too that hopefully are going to come out pretty soon. So yeah, I mean, follow along and reach out.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Zach, and follow along with everything's Thrash Talk at the Thrash Talk Podcast on Instagram. We got Grizzly Gable on Instagram and NSleep41. No Sleep, that's me. Man, it's been a fun one, and I just want to say again, big thank you guys coming in from the Center of Excellence in Utah, and I hope everybody has a great rest of their week, and we'll see you out there.
Yeah. Have a wonderful day, everyone. You.